Hey, this is Mike from Junkion Crafts and Builds, and this is the impressions video for the Jada Toys Street Fighter II Ultra, the Final Challengers Fei Long. Now, I know I'm probably late to the party with this, but that's all right. I don't mind. I found this guy and ordered him through Amazon since he was near impossible to find at any of my local Targets here in the DMV area. So I'm happy I got him. I like Ryu, so let me see if this guy is the same or better. So looking at the front of the box, we have the same kind of arcade style front, Fei Long across the bottom, Street Fighter, all the other stuff that makes it look like he's standing in the arcade, and he's got his level background there behind him. He's inside the plastic, and you get a good idea of all the accessories. On this side, we see that he is from Hong Kong and he has a fighting style of Kung Fu. And we'll close out the box part of this by looking at the back, and it's a cross sell of all the Street Fighter figures for Wave 1. We already have Ryu, now we got Fei Long, and Chun-Li should be coming out here in the fall of 2023, as well as all the future waves. And we have received some updates on the next ones that are coming out. But let's go ahead and get this guy out of the box and start playing with him. All right, so having Fei Long out of the package, I am very, very impressed. I was impressed with Ryu, and this guy appears to have improvements into the joints and tolerances, but we'll get to that in a second. Right now, let's go through his accessories real quick. He comes with 2 pairs of hands, a pair of fist hands, and a pair of action hands here. Fei Long comes with 2 heads. His default head here is a scowling face, and I have to say, the paint deco is just as good, if not better, than on my copy of Ryu. His eyebrows are nice and sharp. His eyes are well painted and even, and he even has a little bit of shading on his lip. Just looks really, really nice. But if we take his head off, we can see he has a very small ball peg into his neck. It has a ball peg as well. And we'll put on the second head. And now we have this fighting pose. Slight open mouth, seems very focused when he's fighting. Fei Long's final accessory is a flame effect piece that will go over his leg that mirrors his special attack. And all you got to do is lift his leg up, point his toe forward, and it slides right on. When you pose him, if you are going to pose him in this, make sure he's supported. But it's really cool that you can still use you can rotate this around. So that is all of his accessories. So like I said, let's go through the rest of the aesthetics here. Aesthetic wise, Ryu is painted and shaded very well. We already talked about his face, but it's also the very subtle shading that's put on his body here. Again, when you have a person whose upper body's exposed and as defined as he is, you kind of need something to help show those muscles off. And I think Jada did an outstanding job in putting the shading properly to really put that definition in place for him. So there he is from the back, and you can see that shading still goes through, and it's subtle enough that he looks fantastic no matter what light you have on him. So moving on to the waist, we see this as a very simple molded black plastic for his pants. Again, very nice sculpt going through and textured from his diaper down through his legs. Now his feet, I'm saying that he's wearing some sort of socks or booties because the color of his ankles here do not match the color of his body, but someone can tell me if I'm right or wrong with that. And then he has his very nicely painted black with a gold trim slippers. So that's him in a nutshell. Very simple figure, but very well done. So let's go ahead and look at articulation next. Articulation wise, I feel this guy is a definite improvement over Ryu in regards to his tolerances and just the fluidity that you can get this guy into a pose. So like we said with the head, it's on a double ball peg, so you can go look down that far, up that far, can do a twist. As you can see here, we can hit a chi pose without any issues, and we have bicep rotation, and we also have a forward and back butterfly joint that makes this really, really nice articulation and range. We have pinless double jointed elbows, which look very nice, and then we go down to his hands. Again, for his fists and for his action poses, we can do wrist rotation, and they have an in and out hinge. His torso, we have a double ball joint. We can get a nice angle twist here. And in combination with his lower ab crunch, He can bend down that far. He can bend back this far before you start seeing the sculpt breakage. But again, it looks really good, a lot of range. Down to the diaper, it's a soft pliable rubber. And his legs, he can do a full split. And he can do a full front and back. We have thigh rotation, and we have pinless double jointed knees. At the bottom of his feet, we have a upper, if you want to call it boot or pants rotation. And then the ankles are very generous in regards to going down, going up, and a bit of a pivot. So with all that, it is very, very fun and easy to get him into many action poses. Now the challenge is going to be his balance. And on his own, I can get him to stand relatively easy and do some general poses. But when you want to get into the more crazy angles and dangles, you're definitely going to need some sort of support. He does have holes at the bottom of his feet if you want to do a stand, but like I said, it's just a lot of fun getting him into these different poses. So let's do some comparisons. So the first comparison I want to have is the obvious one with his Wavemate Ryu. And again, this is going to be a fantastic collection once you start expanding this roster and getting them all posed up and putting them in these action scenes. Going to be amazing. All right, and like I said, his tolerances are much more refined and smoother than some of the joints on Ryu here. Like I said, so you can see in here, he's got a very different, like more soft ratcheted feel in his arms. Here he is standing next to his Spiro Toys Animal Warriors of the Kingdom Lexion. You can see the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom figures are about 6.5, 7 inches. And again, Ryu is kind of closer to 6 inches. Final comparison is Fei Long next to a Valiverse Action Force Swarm Horde figure. And again, the Swarm Horde is just a touch taller, but I think that works out well. And it just shows that Fei Long can fit into a multiple lines of figures in your collection. Final impressions of the Jada Toys Street Fighter II Fei Long. I really like this guy. I'm really impressed with this line, and I want to get more figures. This guy looks amazing. The aesthetics and the subtlety of the shading upon his upper body is really top notch. His face sculpts are really nice and well painted, and his articulation is much smoother than Ryu. So I definitely want to recommend him if you can find him. So that's everything right now. I really appreciate you guys watching and subscribing as I move forward to 500 by my first anniversary of the channel here in October. So we'll talk again soon. Thanks a lot.